Adamu Garba II is a Lagos-based tech entrepreneur. He aspires to be Nigeria's president in 2019. He is from Adamawa State. Mr. Garba, you are 35 years old.
Yes.
And according to the Nigerian constitution, you are not eligible to contest for the office of the president. Are you banking on the not too young to run bill that is yet to be amended into law?
Yeah.
To get this?
Yes.
What is your guarantee that the president is going to sign
I think the fact that we have almost 33 states endorsing it, and the Senate and the reps are endorsing it, it's very clear that Nigerians are saying we need the age reduction bill. We need more younger people to participate in the governance system of the country. So we only have one person waiting, the president. I'm sure the president is going to assent to this.
You are running on the platform of the ruling All Progressives Congress, APC.
Yes.
Someone would think we have few months left to the elections.
Yeah.
Why are you hoping on something that is not yet law? It sounds a little crazy.
No, it's not. I have always been an eternal optimist, and if you check my life history, to where I am, you will see a very clear demonstration of someone who is always committed and directed towards getting things done, and always believe that these things can conspire to make it happen. So I really don't give up until it is all done. So I'm very, very sure the president will listen to the yearning of Nigerians and endorse this bill. It's a contract between him and the younger generation that produces into power. I'm sure this time around he will allow them.
Permit me to restrict you a bit. What are your top 3 priorities and most ambitious plans for Nigeria if you are president?
Yes, the biggest thing I have for the country is actually a work plan. I started planning to be the president of this country since somewhere around 2004. So in 2007, I started studying extensively around Nigeria's problem and how to fix it. So I will come up with a 16-year plan. We call it Nigerian National Grand Strategy. So around almost every sector of Nigerian system, how we can structurally reform them and position them properly to productivity. So we are going to anchor them around what is called 3R system. We have the reawakening, we have the rejuvenation, and the renaissance of Nigerian states. So on the reawakening phase, we are going to discuss frankly about Nigeria and its identity crisis, what some consider the different identity crisis that is bringing a lot of problems. In the rejuvenation, we are going to focus more on the economy, improving prosperity, making sure that we build infrastructure to bridge our supply lines and connect the buyers and sellers, opening the borders, making sure that we liberalize some key important strategic Nigeria's assets like NNPC, like the CBN getting complete autonomy, changing Nigeria's geopolitical zones, the 6 geopolitical zones we have to 9 geoeconomic zones, with Lagos as the 10 exclusive economic zones, powering economic prosperity, and a lot of things like that. Then the Renaissance is a time when we hope we are going to create a civilization for peace and prosperity that is going to also export it to the world. We are going to export it to the world. We know that by that time, Africa will have something good coming out of it, and that thing is peace and prosperity.
Please, I need you to work with me through this. Nigeria's public external debt stood at 18.9 billion in January of 2018. How would you fund an ambitious plan such as yours? Would Nigeria's debt rise under an Adamu Garba's presidency?
You see, I don't know why we think debt around a traditional consumer sense. If you check most countries that grow very, very fast, they open their doors to debt to come in. Because debt is a measure of your credibility. It's actually the measure of how well we can trust your economy with our monies. Now, I was giving an example earlier with China. China's debt to GDP is almost 150%. In fact, the United States is 250%. If you go back to Brazil is almost ranging around 160%. Most of these countries, like Indonesia, is ranging around 110%. Why? For you to have $18 billion means you're completely docile and unproductive nation, and that investors don't want to trust you with their money. We have about more than $1 trillion $100 trillion moving in the cloud around global economy, waiting for which country to attract it. We have a country that have one of the best and the finest demography, that when you position them properly, they can produce and they can consume at the same time. Nigeria, when properly opened, you can actually position it as a productive base and also a consumption base. Capitalism now has shifted clearly from commercialization to consumerization. That means the larger the size, the more youthful the population, the better that economic prosperity of those areas. Why are we even talking about $18 billion that is so cheap that cannot even power 6 months of Nigerian budget?
What you're saying right now sounds really pretty, yeah? Let's get back to reality and what we are seeing every day in Nigeria as of today. Most of the national budget in Nigeria is financed by crude oil receipt, as you know. If the price of crude drops, say, to $30 per barrel, let's say in the first year of your administration, what would you do? Would you borrow?
To be very candid with you, oil is something that we will consider as very tertiary in our settings. In fact, all the plans I have for this country, oil is just something that we need to keep it away completely, because it's not something that is going to define us, not something that is going to make us. It is us, our productivity, that will make us. Now, the reason why we are almost having these kind of challenges is because we depend on something that comes from the ground, something that cannot really make us what we are. And that is why our plan is even to privatize the NNPC, commercialize it, plug it in global stock exchange. I need more dollars to power my infrastructure plan. I need minimum of $1.5 trillion over the period of 16 years to make sure that I have all what I set in to achieve on an infrastructure plan. And one of the things I will use is my strategic asset. Chinese, they use these state-owned enterprises. Why can't I make an NPC as a state-owned enterprise? I want it to be on New York Stock Exchange. I want it to be on London Stock Exchange. I want it to be on Shanghai Stock Exchange. I want it to be in Johannesburg Stock Exchange. I want that NNPC that is closed now for some few to be open for the world so that more dollars can come in. I can power my productivity with it. I don't need the oil money. Let oil money be shared by the oil money. To be very sincere with you, oil is not a national asset. It's an international asset. Any country that is determining its budget by prices of something you don't make, you wait for global community to define for you, you are doomed. And this is a problem. That is why we are caged. And therefore, we will take oil as secondary. Our target is to make sure that we get enough dollars to power our productivity.
To get you clearly, you said let oil money be shared by who?
Let oil money be a global commodity as it used to be. We open the books of the NNPC for everybody to see what is happening so that investors all over the world can take their shares.
Back still on the topic about oil. Yes. The Minister of State for Petroleum recently disclosed that fuel subsidy as of today hit about 1.4 trillion. And about 20% of our national budget. Would you remove subsidy at the risk of compounding the woes of poor people?
The first day, let me tell you, subsidy is one of the things that keeps poverty alive. Because the politicians uses this kind of subsidy to tell you that they are doing good things for you.
But how will you justify this for the Nigerian people to mitigate the impact of the price increase?
Let me give you a simple example.
We're talking about 200 naira per liter.
Yes. Let me tell you something, right? To build a kilometer of road, you need about that's paved 4-lane road. You need about $1.3 million. That's somewhere around 600 million naira to build a kilometer of road. Now, you said 1.4 trillion naira. Yes. Now, if you pick this and divide, do you know the number of kilometers of road you will have? Do you know the amount of business productivity you can enable when you put a better supply line? When you connect the villages where things are produced with their buyers? When you put a clear road or a clear connectivity channel between Benue and Lagos, where the chi exotic require the orange that is wasting on the floor. Do you know how much economic productivity is going to open for them? Do you know how much inflation is going to reduce? People should worry about inflation reducing by building infrastructure that connect our supply line, not just getting some chicken change that will end up.
So what will be your defense for the Nigerian people that feel like buying petrol at 200 naira per liter is too much?
To the best of my knowledge, I think it's the best. Because my defense is simple. I need that money to build infrastructure. The reason why we have serious problem in the country is simply because there is lack of trust in politicians. In fact, when about 137 countries were surveyed, Nigeria appeared at 130th of non-trust in politicians by the citizens. So citizens don't trust the politicians, so they do not want anything to touch their status quo. This time around, when you want to get the country work, for the first 2 years, it's going to be hard. And therefore, anything subsidy, anything free, I'm even allergic to it. And I want Nigerians to be allergic to free things. Because we are a capitalist, liberalized economy, and we have to operate by output and value for labor. Therefore, we remove those things called subsidy, bridge our supply line, and make sure that our inflation drops. Once inflation drops, I earn my 18,000 naira minimum wage. What I used to buy for 100 naira, I may end up buying it for 15 naira. I save additional 15 naira. It's better for me than subsidy.
Mr. Garba, I am a bit concerned about your power generation proposal. It includes, for instance, tapping our coal deposits in places like Enugu, in Kogi, and other areas as key components of your power generation mix. Isn't this going backward, especially in an area where other countries and industrialized nations are using institutionalized actually, I take that again. Especially in an area where other countries and institutional investors are cutting back on coal. Why are you going back to coal?
I will go to coal.
Why?
Because I have a more pressing need, and that pressing need is electricity for Nigerians.
So you're not concerned about clean energy?
Clean energy is part of the thing we are going to consider. But first and foremost, Nigerians need electricity. You see, we can't just jump and sign an agreement simply because we want the global community to clap for us. We need to look into Nigeria's interests. We have been having deficit of electricity generation in this country from inception. Why are we shutting down opportunity? Do you think it's ordinary that President Trump refused to sign the climate change agreement? Because he's trying to protect his own interests. We have to protect our interests. First and foremost, we need electricity and the global community to clap for us. That's what we need first and foremost. And therefore, we need this call. If you check even United States, 68% of their electricity generation is thermal power plant, which is through coal. If you check Japan, it's the same thing. If you go back to China, it's the same thing. Most countries, including India, it's the same thing. Do you know that we export coal in this country? To which countries? The countries that want it. Why are we not using it? Simply because we lock ourselves in a paper. It doesn't make sense. We need electricity, and therefore whatever resources we have on the ground that can give us our electricity, this is what we're going to exploit, including coal.
Isn't your generation goal of 50,000 megawatts too ambitious in 5 years?
It is not. It's not too ambitious. And let me tell you why. You have 2 billion tons of coal that is deposited in Nigeria, according to Nigerian Coal Corporation, that is shut down after the Civil War. 2 billion tons of coal sitting and wasting. Although now they've granted licenses to people to mine and export.
What is your transmission plan?
The transmission plan is decentralized. It's part of the infrastructure we expect to build, because part of our infrastructure plan is building the transmission lines, and building the transmission line have to be exclusively decentralized. We dissect the country into 4 key zones. We have the energy production zones, which is coming from the south of the country to the southeast of the country. South, and southeast, yes, that's correct. Those are energy production zones. Our target is to get energy out of those places. We get gas, we convert it, we sell it out to Europe, instead of us to connect with the pipelines and make sure that we power our house. So we have a plan to build 5,000 kilometers of gas pipeline across the country so that we can use that to power electricity. And then on our transmission, also external transmission plans, we build the necessary infrastructure that can convey the generation that we have from coal, the generation we have from solar, the generation we have from the wind, and then distribute it across the country. Up on the land, we have inland energy production zones where we have mass amount of solar from Sokoto down to Borno State. All those areas we are going to use them for coal.
I am sure you are aware about the current exodus in Nigeria. Most people are leaving the country to Canada and Europe, especially also for medical reasons. The president just got back from London. Would you be increasing the wages of people in the health sector, for instance, in this country?
The entire health structure in the country needs a general reformation because it's driven by entitlement as opposed to productivity. The doctor feels like he needs more because he feels like the Senate gets more. He feels like
so you think the doctors are entitled?
Many of them, to be very sincere.
Why?
Because the primary responsibility of a medical doctor or medical practitioner is to save life, not to big money in your pocket. That's the primary responsibility. But of course, because of the way the country is structured around entitlement, patronage-driven system, naturally you build even the most professional person to come back to be looking for entitlement. So we have a robust proposal around the health sector that we are going to unbundle the NHIS and make it one of the best organizations in the world. We are going to have National Hospital Service that is going to take care of all the hospitals. We are not going to be allowing some doctors to be employed by the federal government, but we will power the private hospitals to be able to have the capacity to pay the doctors according to their output. We have that structure. We have structure of insurance for the health sector. We also make sure that the private health area is driven majorly according to the way the country's health system is working. NHIS will just regulate, but almost all the other hospitals are going privatized. And from there, the private hospital will hire the doctors, and then the doctors will have to abide by the rules that is obtainable from the hospital for which they are working. That label and your capacity and your output and productivity determines what you get, not what government share as a larger C.
Your policy section on your official website as at May 13, 2018, did not touch on security, which is obviously one of Nigeria's biggest threats at the moment. From the middle belt of this country to the northwest to the northeast, across the country, there's a major security crisis.
Yes.
What would you be doing different?
It's simple. When you have security problem in any country like Nigeria, we have some countries that faces the same problem. We have DRC, Democratic Republic of Congo is still sharing the same problem. It's lack of job. When you have young people growing up without opportunity, they don't know what to do. They become confused. When they become confused, the next thing they do is to look for somebody to blame. And once they blame that person, they look for how to exert and maybe probably violently express the blame. And that's exactly what is happening. What we need is to shift economic productivity to those areas. Like the farmers' heartland crisis, the harassment crisis that we have in this country. That area in Benue State, there is a company, TGI Global, TGI Transnational Group, the company that owns cheap exotic. Do you know that most of the oranges and the fruits that they need are imported from South Africa? While we have enough fruits in this country that can supply their demand. But we shut that door. Why? Because there is no clean passageway, there is no road. You can't adequately measure your supply lines to be able to meet your demand because of infrastructure deficit in the country. And we allow people that are blessed with wealth in their area to be dying of hunger and even killing themselves because they don't see value in themselves. We have about 33 million cattle in this country. Many countries in the world, especially Switzerland, New Zealand. New Zealand live on cattle. As much as this Brazil export cattle to China. Why are we shutting down these people simply because we have oil money? So this is the problem. All you need is to power, enable economic prosperity in those areas. The entire country needs job. Borno needs industrialization. Cotton grows very well in Borno. And that cotton can actually be able to power textile manufacturing industries. Sometimes back, we have over 25 different companies in Borno. Now none exist. Because we have...
I'm sure you understand we're still dealing with an issue with issues around the concurrent and exclusive list, legislative list. Which brings me to this question. What does true federalism mean to you?
To me, true federalism is actually having the contributing unit, that's states and local governments, coming together in a democratic form to contribute to the making of the nation, a country. So the wealth or the distribution of the wealth should come from ground to up so that you can hold the center accountable. But a situation whereby everything comes to the center for onward distribution, to the other areas, you eliminate the concept of true federalism completely.
Do you support state police?
Absolutely, 100%. Because it's even common sense to have state police.
You're not worried that, say, in certain states, some Nigerians are saying it won't work because some governors would likely take advantage of the machineries and crack down on every other opposition?
Depending on how you reform the police. our police reform structure, we are going to divide it into 3 sections. We have the federal police, the DSS, the NIA, OP, and then we now have the hybrid police. Like today we have the mobile police, and then we have the state police, the ordinary policemen. And we are going to move police institution completely away from executive arm of government to judiciary, because we believe police handles criminal justice system and they will remain with the judicial system, not with the executive system. So as a governor, you're also answerable to the law. So since you don't appoint the federal high court judge, you don't have right to say that you have control over the police. And the policemen will be held accountable properly through the system that hold every other person accountable. So we reform the judicial system properly, ensure that we have transparency in the operation, ensure that justice is guaranteed for all the aggrieved, and then bring police under them. That's actually our plan. So if we give state police, that means the governor have to pass through the judicial process to be able to get police. So you don't have control over those policemen at all. So state police is the common sense.
Mr. Garba, the odds are against you, knowing that you're running for the office of the president in the ruling party, where the incumbent president has also declared. What happens when you lose after the primaries? Would you be working with him to seek his re-election?
The truth of the matter is APC have a constitution, and the constitution guarantees some fundamental rights for aspirants like me. Before a president should emerge, there are some processes. You have to pass through transparent primary election. Before even passing through the transparent primary election, there must be debates, there must be some discussions with the delegates. Then we should go through the process. That is what I believe.
And when you go through the process, he comes back as the flag bearer of the party. What happens to you? Would you be supporting his candidacy, or you contest somewhere else? I
am a party person. I will always abide by the party constitution. But what I'm saying is we have to pass also through the right channel. If Mr. President, who is my grandfather, whom I respect so much and value, and even wish that he should live for 100 years, my proposal for him is to retire and relax, because he cannot continue to lead this country again. It's obvious that he cannot be able to do it. But if you choose to do that, let's go to debate. Let's discuss Nigerians' issues. Let Nigerians see who is more capable. And from there, we should go through the primaries and discuss with the delegates. If they didn't do that, that means they violated the constitution. And I believe the party will always uphold this constitution.
Very political response, but I'll move on. Would you accept an appointment in 2019 under a Buhari presidency if your ambition does not
succeed? I will not accept appointment under any other presidency other than President Adamu Garba. If I lose this election, I will come back to my business. In fact, I love my business more than even the government. Every day I tell my wife I don't like what I'm doing. The only reason why I'm contesting for this thing is because I feel some guilt. Why? Because I knew some of the problems in this country and their solutions. But when I sit down and just saw some young people being butchered on the street, I feel like, but I know what to do about this. Should I be culprit or I should talk? That's why I'm here. I don't like it. My business can give me billions of dollars. I know the kind of business I run. It's IT. And I know the kind of IPs we are building currently. I don't need government at all. But the problem is, if you don't do something, posterity will judge you. And your children will regret ever having you as a father.
Like many other emerging candidates, like yourself, you are running on an intergenerational platform, asking for the older generation to pave way for the younger ones. How would you end up supporting a septuagenarian candidate of Buhari over a Goodluck Jonathan? And I asked this question on the authority of your tweets from the 9th of February 2015.
Yes, what did I say then?
I'll go back to that.
Yes. Because of the tweet,
exactly.
On the tweet, yeah. I was saying that immediately after the declaration of the president, after the APC government won,
right.
I was hopeful as every other Nigerian that now we can have the best candidate in this country. Maybe now we can have the better nation. That's what I said. Because it was obvious that the way the previous government ran, there were a lot of issues. It's very, very obvious. I think everybody confirmed that. Yes, I am with the way the previous government ran then. Because I am one of the ardent supporters of Goodluck Jonathan presidency. If you go back to my tweets prior, I'm always a defender of Goodluck Jonathan presidency. I believe in him personally, and I still do, to be sincere with you. But the issue is, along the line, there are a lot of disconnects that culminated into effort that brought us to what we are.
You told Sahara reporters that Buhari has failed Nigerians in April of 2018.
Yes.
And a year ago, you tweeted, how can someone in his right senses publish that his God tells him Buhari's time is up? How negative-minded these people can be. End of quote. And this was even after the economic recession. At what point did you realize Buhari has failed? And
yes, the truth, that tweet was responding to some people saying that Buhari's time is up because God told them so. So all those kind of things are things we don't want in our system at all. Religion, we need to deinstitutionalize it. All these religious actors, they need to go back to tradition and culture, not to policy. So as a religion, you don't have right over somebody's life. So this is just out of compassion for humanity. You can't just wake up one day and say, this man will die tomorrow, and I'll just keep quiet. So that was my response. I believe at that day, there was a revelation from one person who said that Buhari's time is up. Well, how can somebody in the right senses say that?
Adamu Garba, you have an opportunity to make a final pitch to Nigerian voter watching you. Why should anyone vote you against and not Buhari, who is also your main rival in the same party?
Yes, people should look to Adamu Garba as the future of this country. They shouldn't look to my face. They should go back and study almost all the proposals I dropped and then compare it with the president. We are in a country where there are a lot of challenges. People are dying. Joblessness is everywhere. It's not about a person. It's about the system of the country. And the system of the country needs to be fixed. And the only person that can be able to fix this country is somebody who is coming from outside the system with a program that can fix the country, which is what we have. We call it structural reform. Structural reform is a program that can completely transform this country to one of the best countries on the planet. That's even our vision. Our vision is to make Nigeria one of the greatest nations on the planet, and our mission is to make sure that Nigerians are away from poverty, about 180 million Nigerians. Do we really have to keep living this way when we see obviously the failure of the current system, or we really want a new system? So it is actually our responsibility to make the right judgment. But I am guaranteeing Nigerians that I am properly positioned to deliver this country to be one of the greatest nations on the planet from 2019 onward.
Adamu Garba, thank you so much.
Thank you very much. I really appreciate your coming.